Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you a leak around Left 4 Dead 3 just happened and it seems legit?
Left 4 Dead 3 coming your way no time soon. So, Left 4 Dead 3 is a game that could very, very well work.
But how, Rez? How could it work with nowadays gaming standards?
Well, good question there. I would like to elaborate on that a little bit later with some very good points on how this game could be a masterpiece, but how it could never possibly come out with
The issue.
So, I'd like to get to some points why this game would be a smashing success. Point number 1 being Source 2, the engine that could. Oh yeah. So, Source 2 basically took a lot of the great things from Source 1 without making it
Over cartoony.
Yeah, but no way do I mean to degrade Source 1's engine. That is my childhood engine, and that will not be degraded. But Source 2 is a phenomenal engine on its own, and as Counter-Strike 2 proved, the graphics are beautiful and would make a phenomenal Left 4 Dead 3. But as you may or may not know, a video game engine is not all about the graphics. No sirree bomb. So, a video game engine, yes, displays the graphics, but also displays the AI and how, well, in Left 4 Dead 2, the bots. And a lot of people, they had very fair complaints about the Left 4 Dead 2 bots, but this game came in 2009 and, well, technically 2006, though AI has advanced. So, I mean, if we're able to make Peter Griffin sing Cotton Eye Joe, why can't we have better Left 4 Dead 3 bots? And, well, we very much can. Yeah, so as this AI demonstration displays, the bots for Left 4 Dead 3 would be phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. So, they would technically almost be player-like. Now, I'm not going to say not going to be bug-free. They could be bug-induced at times, okay? It is a game, and games do have bugs. But this is Source 2, and for players worrying about the AI being crap, I would say we'd have a lot better chance for some very decent Left 4 Dead 3 bots. Not just for the survivors team, but also for the infected team. We could have some tricky infected, and they're just bots, okay? Sometimes you get that random Left 4 Dead 2 bot charger who insta-kills you. Okay, that does happen, but just imagine a Left 4 Dead 3 bot who is trained to insta-kill you. You gotta watch out for those ledges, sonny. Okay, I could go on and on about how Source 2 would make a perfect Left 4 Dead 3, but we gotta talk about the maps. And so, in Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, you would have a series of maps, 4 Left 4 Dead 1 maps, 5 Left 4 Dead 2 maps, I believe that added up to 7 Left 4 Dead 1 maps of the DLCs.
There's a lot of fucking maps here. What the tormented fuck?
Anyways, Left 4 Dead 3 maps shouldn't just be focused on one area. Yeah, that worked for Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, but I was thinking this crazy idea. What if Left 4 Dead 3 maps went
Global!
Geez, Patrick, global.
Found that man, get yourself a global map!
Okay, sorry about that, I went a little too far there. But I was almost thinking along the lines of World War Z. Now bear with me. I want this to be a 4-survivor dynamic group. I want this to have this dynamic relationship between the player and the survivor, like you could get out of Left 4 Dead 1 and 2's iconic characters, okay? These characters like Coach, Bill, Nick, will never be as iconic to this day if it wasn't for that relationship they built with the player. And you just don't get that with a lot of gaming with these kind of games. You're not going to get that with Back 4 Blood. If you like these Back 4 Blood characters, like you like Coach, like you like Nick, you're a fucking jockey. So I was thinking they're survivors, they should keep that survivor dynamic as well. But they don't need to just get across America to survive. They could start in America for maybe 4 or 5 campaigns, and you're gonna be like, well, hold on there, hold your horses, buddy. That's just about the amount of campaigns you get out of the first Left 4 Dead 1 and 2. That's the point. why don't we just go big and bad? I mean, that would be pretty cool, and we could do that with Nowadays Gaming. We could go big and bad and give ourselves quite a few campaigns. Now, not every campaign has to do 4 or 5 campaigns, just some solid and decent campaigns per country. So let's say they get rescued and they're just, America ain't gonna save them. They go to London, right? And then you get that London scenery, that London feel. Just imagine a rescue finale at the Big Ben, passing the Eye of London, seeing Doctor Who and his TARDIS flying by, okay? I don't like what the and just feeling that beauty and that breeze of London. That would be a refreshing scenery. It would be awesome. Okay, let's say, hey, London isn't good anymore. I don't like London, okay? London isn't keeping me surviving. Sure, maybe the end goal isn't at London. They need to get somewhere and survive, but London isn't it. So they go to Paris. Whoa, Paris! Just imagine, Left 4 Dead in the catacombs. Okay, yes, yeah. I would love to see some Left 4 Dead in the catacombs. I would love to see the finale be at the Eiffel Tower. I would love to see Gustav's restaurant from Ratatouille. I'm just kidding, that'd be a complete joke. But Catacombs and the Eiffel Tower would be great, would be fantastic. And where would they end it off? I don't know. So many great places. It could be Japan, it could be Singapore. I'd love to see Singapore for their fancy buildings. I love the architect of Singapore. It really could be anywhere, honestly. I would say just not Germany, because we already got the Call of Duty Nazi zombies. I don't want people to compare that the COD zombies or anything. But just somewhere they could end off at. I don't know. I'll leave the last place up to you. But that would create a lot of wins. More maps. Oh yeah. A more dynamic survival story.
Dynamic is a win, buddy.
You know what? I like the word dynamic. Alright, moving on from maps. This kind of plays into the mapping.
And beware, you're in for a scare, because I'm going to say it again.
I'd love to see a more dynamic weather system. Yeah. So, in Hard Rain, the campaign, you would have this interesting perspective on this campaign. One of the most interesting of all Left 4 Dead history. You started a boat, and like Lightning McQueen from Cars, this one also has a name. It's Virgil. Jokes aside, you simply have to get gas, so you end up going through the neighborhood and a sugar mill, and you end up at a gas station. You come back to that boat again. But I'm not here to talk about how the campaign goes. I'm here to talk about the weather in that campaign. And the weather is it's not dynamic, more of just safe room loading screen. So you get to a safe room, you load to the next chapter of the campaign, it gets a little bit more rainier. By the end of it, you dance with Magusta and you get to the storm part of it. But you see, young Sparrow, that's not the weather system I'm looking for. Maybe just something realistic and dynamic. But what if we had, you're walking through the campaign and then it just rains, okay? Depending on your region, of course. Maybe it's sunny. Maybe it snows, right? So you have the snow. It'd be really cool to see the snow build up over time. So a little light snow and then it just starts building up. You can do that nowadays with gaming. This would be really cool to see. Now, we never saw this stuff in CSGO, but why would we? We just want to see weather come and go as the time goes by. Maybe even day and night cycles at times, not obvious, like really quick day and night cycles, longevity day and night cycles. It'd be kind of interesting to have a campaign at the day and have a campaign at the night, evening and dawn. It would take a new toll on things.
A death toll.
The last and final thing I want to touch up on maps with is a new pathing system. So in Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, you'd have the traditional point A to point B scenarios, and it should still practically remain the same. But it's not just me, there's a lot of people saying, what if we had 2 ways to go? I 100% agree with that, but I think some people got it wrong. Like, how could you get that wrong? You just kind of said, you agree with them. I agree with the concept of 2 different ways to go, though I think we don't need 2 different ways to go on the map. That would cause a lot of confusion, a lot of splitting up. What we need, and this is where the money's at, what we need is a system that doesn't get players' vote kicked. No, we need a RNG system in map. So let's say this map, you can go either 1 or 2 ways, depending on the RNG of the map cycle. So you load up the map, And one time it might have a forest you have to go through. The other time, a hospital. It would be even cooler if they had different crescendos depending on those paths that were provided for you. Now, that might be pushing a little too far, and simply the scenery change would be phenomenal. It could just be simple as a different neighborhood, time to time. Just these different paths you would take through the campaign would bring up so much freshness that every single point through the weather system, through the path system, and having this global survivor has to get to the end point to finally survive would be great. Ooh, that would be great. Should Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 campaigns make their cut into it? We already have a lot of campaigns in Left 4 Dead 3. Yes, Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 campaigns should probably make a cut in it, okay? But they shouldn't be, I don't know how they'd be targeted because we have so much campaigns if this happens, so much. But they could be targeted in some way to be added to the base game of Left 4 Dead 3. Okay, so now that we're done with the Left 4 Dead 3 map points, we need to move on to something just as important as the maps, the survivors and the special infected. Now that is going to be tricky to get into, but we're going to tackle it right here and right now. So it is no secret that the Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2 survivors, well, they are a standout bunch of people. Oh yeah, so when it comes to these particular survivors, they're iconic for their nostalgia, but the standing out qualities of them, like Coach's first name is Coach and his last name is also Coach, is a standout quality.
Or the president.
But also at the same time, they feel like people that would be in the world. They don't feel like out of character people, and they don't feel generic. So trying to make a cast of characters for the third Left 4 Dead game is going to be tricky. And I have some ideas, some concepts, but they're only ideas and concepts, that's all. The first survivor I have in mind here, Jared Belinsky. Oh yeah, he is a rock star, but nowhere multimedia fame, okay? He's a small-time, gig artist, a local musician, you could say, right? So he's not popular, he's not famous, and if lucky, there might be one CD with him out there in the world, but the survivors probably wouldn't know him at all. And him being a musician would really give that sense of character. Like, you got a coach, you got a gambling man called Nick, you got an army man Bill, now you got rock artist Jared Belinsky. I like the name Jared Belinsky, it's a cool name. But moving on from Jared Belinsky, the next survivor I have in mind, Joey Batten. So Joey Batten is kind of like an anti-Nick. He's like Nick, kind of see it in the face, but here's the kicker in the dicker. He's a detective. Oh, a detective. Now, I'm sure Nick and Joey over here would have a few rational scrub-throughs, but that's not what we're talking about, filthy little Nick. We are talking about the qualities of Joey Batten. Now, Joey Batten's the name, but Joey Batten's the game. We're not gonna fault him for that. We all have our personal hobbies. So, Joey Batten could be just a cool kind of detective. Lovable, and probably played as a lot, but Nick ain't gonna like it. Moving on from Joey Batten, we have been missing something from the past Left 4 Dead 2, right? Something that we only got in Left 4 Dead 1, an old man. So that leads me to my next character, Tommy Jones, a farmer and an herbalist. This guy,
His favorite weapon is a toothbrush.
he knows his way around plants, right? He definitely does. But of course, that doesn't mean anything to Left 4 Dead. He might use some dialogue saying, "Whoa, that tree is made out of bark." But simple as that, it's not necessarily going to be anything huge. It's just a character. It's an old man with a ponytail, and his name is Tommy Jones. Moving on to the female character. Now, in every Left 4 Dead, there's been that female character for foundation, for sanctity. Okay? So, we need this female character to be, whatever, I guess, AI art can produce, right?
Fuck AI.
Jenny Glaslow, a college student. yeah, there's really not much to say. She's a college student. She's definitely attractive, but does Chet Falasek like it? God, I don't know! So, clearly, this isn't done in Source 2, so the characters will have no source field with them whatsoever. They will have AI feel, right? Okay. Dance a little bit. Chet Falasek probably doesn't like that. I'm sorry, Chet Falasek. I'm sorry, alright? But the point is, they're just concepts, okay? Nothing that's gonna be real. I'm just trying to put it together that we're missing something. That's it. Alternative takes. That's what we're missing. We need different takes because I don't think everyone's gonna be happy with these characters. Some might not like Jenny. Some might not care for Jared. Okay? If you don't like Joey, there's something wrong with you. But there's understandable reasons why those characters alone might not please everyone. Here is a few alternative takes. An alternate take for Ginny I had was Delilah. Kind of a free-spirited woman who is in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. The next alternative take I have here is Professor Simons. Oh yeah, our first professor when it comes to the old green flu, right? So it would provide a very interesting take on his dialogue. His dialogue would be very something. Another alternative take I have here is Rocco, master of the hippie, right? He is a cool guy, fun to hang out with. He's gonna have some cool dialogue, but at the same time, he is a warrior. So he will fight and probably believe that the Great Spirit helps him fight or something, right? And that's Rocco right there. His name actually isn't Rocco, but that's what we're gonna call him. Alright, last one so I don't drag out the video too long. Rasta Mike. Okay, a Rasta guy in the zombie apocalypse. Hell yeah. Now those were Survivor concepts and details. I like some of those ones, you know, they're fun, interesting, and if Left 4 Dead 3 did happen, I'm hoping to see some of that, you know, interesting, you know, features from that, you know, aspect of just out of the blue. But there can only be 4 survivors. Well, as promised, I shall move on to the special infected. And don't worry, it's not AI generated special infected, it's simply ideas and photos of real art. Cool. Now I do want to start the special infected with a non-player controlled infected. This special infected has been completely cut in Left 4 Dead 1. The special infected being the Screamer. Now, what the Screamer does is screams and summons a horde while screaming, but that was quickly replaced by the Boomer, which pukes on you, blinds you, and a horde comes, so why would you need the Screamer at that point? The animations of the Screamer were given to the fallen survivors that run off, and the Scream was given to the Hunter. So how could the Screamer make a return if that's already in the picture? Well, you could have it summon a horde, sure, maybe a bigger horde, but what if it also summons a tank, okay? That's just a fucking stick in the dick rickle tickle right there because, let's be honest here, randomly throughout the maps versus our campaign, the Screamer will come up, it will scream. There will be a horde and a tank. That's a little painful, okay? It's painful. I think adding a tank to the Screamer's scream every time makes the Screamer valid. Because no Boomer is gonna boom out a tank, okay? Alright? But a Screamer, they can scream a tank right up. So, I think a Screamer can make a valid return under that condition. So, there is one Left 4 Dead concept special infected art that has very much intrigued me, you could say. That being the Haggard. Now, the Haggard, come on, look at that. Just look at that. The Haggard really looks like it could be in Left 4 Dead. There is no arguing there, but thing has jockey fatigue. Ooh, jockey fatigue, you say? The abilities are written on the paper. I mean, this thing is wrapped up like a Christmas present and handed as concept art. But jumping on a survivor and impaling him with the debris would be quite a powerful move, or, you know, at least powerful enough. So, you're gonna think, hey, wait a minute. Impaling, a survivor with debris, wouldn't that cause more of a fatal or severe injury? Well, as much as I'd like to say yes, I have shot survivors with a shotgun and all they took is pain pills and they're fine, so. But this doesn't really help the problem. And what problem, you may be asking? Well, the pinner problem. Still confused? The hunter jumps on you and it pins you. The charger charges, grabs you, and it pins you down, you know. Basically, pinners means you can't move, and it just does damage while, you're stuck and the survivors have to help you. Now, as much as this adds a spear throw mechanic, it still is a pinner. Now, a special infected. That sounds really good on paper, but I am very much on the fence of a spawner, or as known as the breeder by this concept art. So, the breeder will breed out multiple infected that are more powerful than commons, but not special infected tier. They are strong, they have agile movement, but they're not exceptionally powerful. Why I think the breeder is bad execution is I don't think it'd be fun to play as. I mean, when you could be the hunter, the jockey or the charger, then you're given the breeder. And it's yes and a no kind of thing, The reason why I don't like it is because you can be shot down pretty quickly. I'm assuming the breeder would probably have, 320, 400 some health, not much health, just enough to keep it alive for a little bit. And obviously it would hide off in the far distance. But the survivors will probably easily shoot down anything that the breeder spawns. So the breeder won't have much of a threat. It will be kind of boring, and most people probably kill it off after the first breed or two, just because it's not super damaging. At most situational, maybe a horde or a tank, and the breeder's there. A little bit of more struggle. They're gonna shoot him down still. Yeah, they will. So in the long run, I think the breeder would be kind of a unlikable special infected. Now, a question that has been jumping up and down, one that we cannot ignore. A new playable boss zombie. All we had for 2 Left 4 Deads was the tank. What could we have that's another playable boss zombie? And to answer fairly, I really don't know. I mean, the tank it's perfect. So the survivors typically just push through the map, and then the tank comes, and now they're defending themselves, staying in one area typically to fight the tank. And that right there is a great purpose for the tank. It's strong, it's slow, but the motherfucker can wipe out a team if the team's not ready for it. And now you could say, just bring in another thing that's like the tank. And well, in theory, that could work, but there's no relevance for that other boss zombie. It's just another boss zombie that's tough and this and that. Maybe you can tweak some things, make it a little faster than tank but a little weaker or something, but still, the tank has its purpose as the tank. And if you just try to bring another tank in there, there's no relevance to that other thing except just adding it into the game. And to be clear, Left 4 Dead has been strict on keeping animals from being infected, so nothing animalistic. That leaves it to a hard choice. I'm not a Left 4 Dead, special infected inventor, but I do know the tank is just perfect. There's just nothing that can really add to another boss zombie. Now I'd like to move on from special infected ideas to another thing about special infected, but this goes way beyond special infected, that being RNG. Not luck like a slot machine, but it is RNG infected. So let's be honest here. Out of all Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, the only 2 variants of a male and female comes from the Boomer infected. And where's our female hunter infected? The fan art just isn't enough. So RNG for the special infected gender. So a male and female smoker, a male and female hunter. I mean, these things, they would work. And you can go on and on, of course, with the other special infected, but I don't want to just get lost in the special infected. RNG is very broad. We're talking about pills, okay? So this is a Steam Workshop spokesperson here. We are talking about RNG pills. RNG guitars, right? The guitar melee weapon. RNG it, man. You can have a Fender, a Vox, a Rickenbacker. You can have all these different kinds of guitars. Now the Steam Workshop people have went a step above and made RNG potted plants, RNG water dispensers, RNG soda machines, RNG this, RNG books, man. The RNG doesn't stop. And if Valve naturally did that, there would be a lot of beautiful detail. Maybe people wouldn't notice it. But they did that for Left 4 Dead 1 and 2. They even mention people don't always consciously notice the details they add. But yet in the long run, why are the games so successful and popular? Because of those things, okay? Those dick-sucking things that people don't realize. So, this may not be a new boss zombie per se, but a tank modification. That being, the tank is able to smash people through walls. That is a great idea for a couple reasons. One, it'd be fun to smash players through walls. Two, it gives more usage to the tank. And three, well, I can't quite name yet, I'll get back to that because that's part of another upcoming point. But in the long run, how it would work is the tank would have specific walls. Kind of like the Special Infected is able to hide behind certain walls and break it and pop out. The tank is able to smash survivors through those specific walls. So it wouldn't be every wall per se, right? Because let's be honest, if a tank is smashed through any wall, insta kills would be through the roof, which would be totally unfair. But in the short run, it would be pretty cool to smash survivors right through another wall, causing some extra inflicting damage points and being able to separate the survivor from the group. So that could cause some serious chaos. And overall, I think that would be a fine modification to the tank. And the key for Left 4 Dead 3 isn't to go hog wild crazy with it. No, it's to simply keep the gameplay mechanics and fundamentals that made the previous game so great, and to simply innovate on those gameplay mechanics and fundamentals. That right there is what's ideal for Left 4 Dead 3. So, there are two things I want to mention, one that is a given and one that I forgot to touch up on. The first thing, Steam Workshop. It's gonna happen. There'll be mod support. There wouldn't be any doubt about that, okay? There'd be mod support. Yeah, preach if you want, but we're gonna cut that from now because the second point is about the maps. I do believe the maps should stay the same length as the previous Left 4 Dead maps. Now, people are saying we should make the maps longer. And from a campaign standard, sure, but from a versus standard, no. Okay? No. The versus matches typically are about an hour or around there, and that's good, right? That should be enough, right? And a longer campaign would make it very hard for the survivor to get through that versus map and survive, unless it's a really good team, right? And still, it can be challenging against a good versus team. So, unfortunately, I don't think the map should be any longer. But the fact that we'd get a lot more maps with the whole global idea would be a global joy. The last thing I want to touch up on about the versus mode, and that would be custom mutators. So, not a specific custom mutation, right? But mutators. Yeah. So on Left 4 Dead, at the end of the chapter in versus mode, right, the survivors get to the safe room, and once the infected and survivors are ready to move on to the next chapter, and let's say the two teams equally got to the safe room, and it's gonna give someone an extra 25 points, depending who got more damage as the special infected. Well, people keep on saying, I got 839 damage, and they only got 321 damage, and yet I'm only getting 25 points for 892 damage. You fucking in my shoe, buddy? And well, I don't think they're fucking in your shoe, but I do agree that the 25 point system is a bit cheap when the infected team got a whole bunch more damage points than the other team did. And well, I still think that should remain the same for base versus mode. I believe lobby leaders should have the option to change the versus point settings, right? So instead of getting 25 points, you could add multipliers. So multiplier would basically rendition all the points as the infected team, and just sporadically add those points to the game score. So that would create one hell of a hectic versus match, okay? That would be interesting, fun. Probably cause a few rage quits, especially if that team who got the 351 points versus the team who got 892 points wins, right? As soon as that chapter 1 hits, they're probably gonna rage quit right off the bat. They just probably will. But for a custom mutator setting, that wouldn't be bad. And the next thing I'd like to add to the custom mutator setting, single player versus. Yes sirree, Bob. The fact that in Left 4 Dead 2, it's only a mod. You link it to, okay, only a mod. It should be in base game. Sure, the bots suck. Yeah, of course they suck. But Source 2 bot engine, a single player versus match could be promising. Okay, and especially players who are learning the system, very, very great for those players. And let's be honest, Left 4 Dead 2, a Tide Pod winning game, you could say, right? It's going on as of now versus matches 10 plus years later, over a decade. But there'll be points where the game isn't super active, right? That's happened. So a single player versus mode would be perfect. And of course, you know, you have the whole tank rush thing and this, that. These mutations should apply to specifically versus mode and not be a custom mutation setting. It should be simple versus mode mutators. That's all, okay? So yeah, I think versus mode should have a mutator setting for those reasons and other, you know, versus mode mutations. And of course, mutations itself should remain the same, right? There should be the mutations option, but that should be more focused for campaign mutations. So, this is one of my last points in the video. Gosh, this has been going on for a while. And this point is a given. Left 4 Dead 3 should have VR. Left 4 Dead 3 should have VR as a support, and only a support. Not some Half-Life Alyx situation. Now, Half-Life Alyx is a fine game, a great game, but let's be honest here, VR is only going to be an addition for Left 4 Dead 3. It would be cool to see a VR Left 4 Dead 2, you know, game itself. We do have a mod for it, and that's good enough, but, you know, on point with Left 4 Dead 3, VR is a support. I'm not going to keep saying that. It's only going to be a addition. So, how that would work is it would be very reminiscent to, you know, the style of Half-Life Alyx, except it wouldn't be Half-Life Alyx. It'd be Left 4 Dead 3 in VR, and it would be done perfectly. It would be done perfectly. Now, versus mode will be the biggest issue. Obviously, campaign, most people can see how that can be done, but versus mode, so a lot of players are probably going to be very motion sick with characters like the Hunter jumping around, the Charger, and well, actually pretty much all of them that jump around and, you know, move at fast-paced movements. So I have two options. One, a vignette, a FOV, I call the Batlins, around the, you know, the screen. So that would give the player less chance to get motion sick. And the third option, when the special infected does make that jump or charge, it can put the cam outside of the body and the player can watch the charge and jump, so they're not actually in the movement, which could be very beneficial to that player. Of course, there should always be options, because me personally, a big VR, you know, enthusiast when it comes to enjoying the games, I like to be put in the action, so I'm always gonna want the first-person experience. I don't get motion sick, thankfully, and that should always be an option. But for players who can't quite do that, and still want to play the game in VR, it should be allowed. And there should be a very honestly induced VR section. So if you're playing the game additionally in VR, you should be able to play campaign with anybody, but you should not be able to play versus with anybody, because a person on VR and a person on the PC will have very indifferent compatibilities. So the mouse and PC might be better, maybe the VR be better, I don't know. But I know for versus, you know, as the infected, the PC player will have a much more advantage as the infected. So I think if you're doing VR, there should be a indicated lobby for versus. Survivors, campaign, that doesn't need to be. But for versus alone, I feel like there should be a VR only lobby, just because it's just for the whole fairness. I can already see the people getting kicked, for playing VR. So it's got to be probably separated in that fact and matter alone. When I mentioned the tank smashing people through walls, there's a point that I wanted to get to a little later, and that's it. I wanted to exactly get to that point. It'd be really cool to smash a player through wall on VR. So, on a realism, kind of like, or not realism because it's a separate, entity to the Left 4 Dead series, the realism factor of a tank smashing a person through a wall in VR would be cool. That's all. So yeah, the VR point can be wrapped up there as an addition, separate lobbies for versus mode, pretty much that, yeah. That'd be pretty cool. So VR should definitely make a come to in Left 4 Dead 3. Alright, sorry, one last thing about VR. I made a final decision on how the VR community could play with PC players. And honestly, I think even campaign and versus should both have their own VR section. So typically only VR players can play in that section, but I do believe friends should be able to play versus and campaign together, but it can only be through friend lobbies. So it cannot be a official campaign. So if you're gonna play with your friends and you don't have a lot of friends on versus, you can't have that full lobby, and that's just how it's gonna be. But at least you'd be able to play with your friends on VR if you both don't have VR, so one person PC, one person VR, and two buddies can still play. But even on campaign, for a VR person, I think that should be limited to a VR section. That shouldn't be an issue for campaign players to play on PC and VR, but I feel like it'd be kind of weird for the PC players just to see this VR guy start contorting and being weird and other stuff, and I feel like VR players should just stay with VR players. But yeah, if you have buddies, you should be able to play any mode on Left 4 Dead together as a friends only lobby. I don't see a problem with that. Alright, moving on officially to a kind of not a wrap up, but a separate entity point. Let's just move on to that. Left 4 Dead 3 was actually about to be officially released. Yeah, well, that's not really a secret. Valve News Network has covered that one a long time ago, as a whole bunch of other sources have as well. Left 4 Dead 3 was a game that was very much in the works for quite some time. That being said, it was cancelled. Why? Why, you may ask, just in case you didn't watch the reason why? Well, because they couldn't agree on an engine. An engine! They wanted Unreal Engine because Source 2, the beautiful Source 2, the amazing Source 2, wasn't quite finished and polished like it is nowadays, meaning console players would have issues, considering that PC would be the only release format of Left 4 Dead 3, and even on PC there could be stability issues, and they wanted Unreal Engine. Now, I'm gonna take a guess that Valve side did not want Unreal Engine being the main source. God damn right, Valve, you do not want the Unreal Engine. So, Turtle Rock Studios, I'm guessing, because let's be honest here, the story later explains itself when they made Back 4 Blood with Unreal Engine. They pretty much just sold it there. They couldn't agree on the engine, so they scrapped it all. And they really got the game fucking finished. Like, it just needed some voice acting, some more polishing, but the game was about to be done. Now, here's the thing, okay? The thing was, this game was actually going to be more like Back 4 Blood than we thought. Oh my god, Batman! Left 4 Dead 3 had this stats thing like Back 4 Blood. It was still in Left 4 Dead format, but it was way more like Back 4 Blood than Left 4 Dead 1 or 2 was. So, honestly, it was kind of okay that we didn't get Left 4 Dead 3 in that standard. Also, it was going to be set in another location, which was cool. A lot of people wanted another place than just America, and that's kind of why I set my game for global. Now, how could a Left 4 Dead 3 come out when it's already canceled? We have a Back 4 Blood and 1,000 other Left 4 Dead copies out there, over-exaggerating of course, but, you know, with all this Left 4 Dead stuff out and out and out, and none of it will ever succeed like Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 did, what's going on? How could this work? Well, Turtle Rock Studios made Back 4 Blood. That was their attempt on their next Left 4 Dead game. Valve is still in the green light. They could make their next Left 4 Dead game now. How? Well, if Turtle Rock Studios doesn't want to play ball, they could simply buy them out.
Hi, I'm Saul Goodman. Did you know that you have rights? The Constitution says you do, and so do I. I believe that until proven guilty, every man, woman, and child in this country is innocent. And that's why I fight for you, Albuquerque.
Better call Saul.
So yeah, since Valve owns the Left 4 Dead IP, Turtle Rock Studios can do nothing more but suck their own dick because, I mean, they can't do anything more. Valve, you got the Gabe, man. The Gabe's gonna get you, buddy. He's gonna wait till you go to sleep, Turtle Rock Studios, and he's gonna be in your fucking closet. So in hindsight, Left 4 Dead 3 is in the green light. Oh yeah, it's just up to Master Gabe and his Jedi clan to make that for us. You know, it just is. I wanna apologize for one thing you may or may not have noticed. It has been quite some time working on this video. Part, you know, due to laziness at times. I work on it for here and there and I get a little lazy. But a lot of things have happened in that time span. One of those things being jaw surgery. So at times I might have had a bit of a speech issue, okay? I want to apologize if that was noticeable. If it wasn't noticeable, thank God. For me, it definitely was, because it's me, for Christ's sake. I'm going to notice every little fucking fine hair. If I grow a hair in my hand, I'm going to notice that. But, simple as that. Just a quick little apology, jaw surgery, a little bit of speech issues. Yeah, all good now. Yep, all good.
Now, Dormammu, the question. They mohi lost on Dun Pramahu.
And believe it or not, guys, that translates to, with all these great points, why won't Left 4 Dead 3 come out? Now, I mentioned that in the video, why it will probably never come out. And the answer, well, a lot of people know that, but not everyone knows that. It's a simple answer. Valve has decided to take a hiatus on gaming and not really make games as much anymore. So, that Portal 3, the Half-Life 3, and Left 4 Dead 3 is on hiatus for however long. It ain't dead. So people said it's canceled and never gonna come out. They haven't sent it to the execution chair yet. It's just kind of waiting in its cell, kind of in limbo. Now there's been some rumors lately about a Half-Life 3 thing going out. Maybe it's another Half-Life game. I want Left 4 Dead 3. Goddamn. But instead of making games, they're making software and hardware, alright? So if they can make the deck hard, that'd also be good, alright? If they can bring us the deck card, ho ho ho, shishan claus. But yeah, the sad thing is, most likely, a game like Half-Life, Left 4 Dead, or Portal won't really come out unless there's a reason to. That being, testing out a new piece of hardware or software, like the Valve Index and Half-Life, right? The whole Half-Life Alyx thing. Left 4 Dead 3 might be a Valve deck card thing, okay? Not hopefully exclusive, but maybe VR supported, where you get a copy of Left 4 Dead 3 if you buy the Valve deck card, and then that's true. Dreams and hopes, and maybe there is a God out there comes true. But yeah, let's wrap this up. So, with all these points wrapped up in a bag to make a perfect Left 4 Dead 3, maybe you have some additions. If you do, please leave that in the comments, but all these points would make a beautiful Left 4 Dead 3. So, the real question is, Gabe, in a song, the outro song, this is the question. Play it.
The game we need. Left 4 Dead 3 lost in the sea of greed. Fans are waiting, hearts are bleeding for the sequel we've been needing. The infected grow, the survivors bleed in this never-ending zombie feed. Game you, won't you hear our pleas? Give us the game that's meant to be. Lost in the shadows, a distant dream. Left 4 Dead 3.